Hi everybody, my name's Katie with Mountain Girl Wellness, and as promised, here's my video on how to make kombucha at home. Here are the items you'll need to purchase in order to make your kombucha. You'll need 3 mason jars of the same size, 3 packets of black tea, a bottle of kombucha, or if you have already brewed a batch of kombucha, you can use your own kombucha. And then, of course, you'll also need some kombucha Scobie in order to start your batch off, and I have a video on how to make that or to get it yourself. Oh, and you'll also need coffee filters. I forgot the coffee filters. So there's a couple steps to making your kombucha. The first thing you're going to do is put 8 cups of water into a large pot. Make sure it's large enough that when it does boil, you're not going to overflow or anything. But this is the first thing you're going to do. You're going to heat your water and then just allow it to boil. And essentially, we're going to just make tea with that. So then the next thing you want to do is once your water is boiled, you'll take your 3 tea packets. I like to use black tea. I usually use just plain tea, but this time I am using peach cobbler tea from Tazo. I also like to use yogi tea as well, but any of the black teas that are your favorite will work. So you're just going to put those in the pot, remove the pot from heat, and then let the tea brew. It usually takes around 30 minutes, so just let your tea bag sit in there and brew away. After your tea bags have been steeping for about 30 minutes, then you'll just remove those and set them to the side. Maybe reuse them for a nice cup of tea. And then what you're going to do is essentially make sweet tea for all my Southerners out there. You're going to add 2 cups of sugar. I know that sounds like a lot, but the sugar is what the kombucha Scobies eat. That's what's going to help the fermentation process. I like to use the sugar in the raw turbinado cane sugar, but you can use any type of sugar, white sugar, brown sugar. I think it all works. Now just stir in your sugar until it dissolves, and we will let this set until it becomes room temperature. It may take a while. Once our tea is cooled to room temperature, we're going to take our 3 mason jars and we are going to take the lids off each one of them. We're also going to remove this center part. You're not going to need it. You're just going to need that outer rim. So we'll go ahead and do that for all 3, and then we'll get ready to fill them. The first thing we're going to add to our mason jars, about 1/3 of the way full, is our sweet tea mixture that we just created in our pot. Next is where our Scobies come in. We are going to add 1 Scobie disc to each of our 3 mason jars. As I mentioned earlier, in order to get these kombucha Scobies, I did make a post on my Instagram and Facebook page on how you can either create your own Scobie, or if you know someone that can give you a Scobie. If you live near me, I would be happy to donate Scobies to you. Any extra sweet tea that you have left over, you can add to your Scobie jar in order to keep your extra Scobies nice and moist. Finally, the last step is to add that bottle of kombucha. If you don't already have batches of kombucha going, you will have to start out with a beginner bottle, but after that you can just use your own kombucha for all of your future batches. I like to use either Greenwise, Kavita, or Synergy brand, but I think any good reputable kombucha brand will work for this. And you will just top off the last 1/4 of each of the mason jars with this kombucha, and this just helps to start off your batch and start that fermentation process going with the kombucha bacteria. The final step to part 1 of our kombucha making is to use our coffee filters here. You're going to place 1 coffee filter over the top of each of your bottles, and then you're going to secure it in place with that outer ring of the lid. That way your kombucha can breathe and it allows that fermentation to take place. Coffee filters are nice because it can breathe and it won't allow bugs to get into your jar, because if bugs get in, then they will become contaminated, and we don't want that. So I think coffee filters are the easiest way to do this, because you can throw them away and use a different one next time. Now it's time to just sit back and let fermentation happen. We are going to store our jars for about 2 weeks in a nice room temperature area out of direct sunlight. And after about 1 week, you should see new Scobie growth. After 1 week, I'll do a short check-in on our Instagram and Facebook page, so make sure you're following. And then in 2 weeks, I will see you for step 2 of the kombucha making.